Okay.
Casey, it's Lillian Levy. I'm on a some kind of Zoom call and I can't hear anybody.
You guys hear me?
Thank you.
We can hear you, Lisa. Yeah.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
You can't hear?
So it's Becky. I can hear Anthony. I can actually hear Lillian, but Lillian can't hear us. So Lillian, do you have a volume on your computer? Maybe you're muted. Because that's like a computer issue. Because we can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good.
Oh, there we go. Now we can see you. You look like the neighbor over the fence.
Who, me?
Becky, you don't have your background.
Camera. I don't understand why I look like the neighbor over the fence. Well, there.
Well,
I'm not. There you go. I'm not Tim's neighbor anymore.
Right.
Okay, so I care.
Hi, I'm here. I don't know how to do a virtual background with WebEx.
Denise,
You can't.
Denise, it's Whitney. Are you on?
I'm on, Whitney.
Would you do me a favor and call Lillian? If she can't hear through her computer, she'll probably have to dial in and listen on her phone.
You want me to call? You want me to call her?
Okay.
Yeah, could you please?
Thank you. That would be great because I don't have a great.
So I'm on the camera, but I can't hear them.
Okay,
Oh, she's got somebody in her office.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got somebody in her office helping.
You're gonna adjust the volume.
It's going to be 15 minutes, and the technical problems are going to be an hour and a half.
It's Lillian. I can hear you now.
Yay!
Okay, good.
I still have muted you all. I don't know how I did it.
Hi, Lillian.
Okay.
Hi. I'm not
I'm
really
on
too proficient.
a board meeting right now, and it's always so funny to see like who can't figure out the technology.
Be careful what you say, because well, we all can hear you.
Oh boy.
Life used to be easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I used to complain about driving to Albany, but now I wouldn't complain so much.
Yeah, me.
I know. I can't wait to have a meeting where we can actually see each other face to face. And so that you know,
Yeah.
us folks aren't being shy. We don't have cameras on our computer.
Oh. Yeah, I don't actually have one on my table, a computer, but I have one on my laptop, so I use my laptop.
Nice. Well, you all look fabulous.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, it would be nicer if I could be in sketch, but.
Where are you? I don't see you, Steve.
I'm right here. I can see myself on the screen.
Can you? Oh, let me click on you.
I think. See.
I see Carol.
Yeah, I see Carol. Oh, here we go. We have to click through. There's Anthony, Becky.
Lily and I said.
You can't do that.
Okay, so if we're all here, why don't we start? Okay, so
Is Jim here?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here
he's on
just
his phone.
via audio only. I don't have
Anthony,
my,
you know, why don't we do this? I need to do a roll call of the public board members. So why don't I do this?
Is he gone?
Steve?
What happened to Steve?
Steve?
Yeah, you know what? That's
He's back.
I think because they just started the recording that I lost you guys for a second.
Okay.
I'm getting in and out. Okay, why don't we start the roll call again? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we start the roll call again? Lillian Levy,
Here.
Steve Raffaello is here. Anthony Jarisol,
Here.
Carol DeSanto,
Here?
James Legret,
here, audio only.
Ziri Rodriguez.
Is that Eliezer Rodriguez?
Yes,
I'm present.
thank you. I might want to put my glasses on when I start these things. Okay, so I called to order the meeting for the New York State Appraisal Real Estate, the New York State Board of Real Estate Appraisers for October 26th, 2020 at 10:30. We have witnessed and approved that all are present. David, can you vocally approve that we have a quorum?
Yes, there is a sufficient number of members present for a quorum.
Okay, thank you much. I guess at this point, and I'll defer to Whitney for a moment. Whitney, we'd like to go through the staff members that are there, or do we want to do that as we go through the agenda?
Why don't we just do that as we go through the agenda, Steve?
Okay, very good. Thank you. And in your meeting notes, which were sent to you on October 15th, everyone has a copy of the most recent meeting that we had. And if I can get a motion to approve the notes from the last board meeting.
Motion to approve from Carol.
Second.
Lillian seconds it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. We have approved the meetings from the summary from the last meeting. Agenda item 2, department reports. And I would like to call on Ernest Delaney to go through enforcement.
Excuse Steve.
Yes.
Excuse me, Steve, this is Judy. But I think we also have to approve the minutes or the summary from January 28th, 2019 and August 26th, 2019 as well.
Okay. I just had the August 26th. Okay. All right. So let me go back and make a motion that we accept the January 2019 and the August 2019 board minutes, which were supplied to everyone on October 15th. Can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept, Carol, from Carol.
Do I have
And
a second?
Lillian seconds again.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Thank you, Denise. Okay, and I have to excuse myself because we haven't had a meeting in a little while, so I get into the habit of always approving the last meeting, where in this case we had approved the last 2 meetings. So moving on through the agenda, through the department reports, I'd like to call on Ernest Delaney to talk about enforcement and continuing education audits. Ernest?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So the enforcement report will cover appraisal complaints the department received since January of this year. it's been a while since we had a meeting, since January this year to the present. Over that time span, we've received a total of 26 new appraiser complaints. We've also closed 7 complaints. We closed them in enforcement, which means that 6 of those, breaking down, it means 6 of those was sent to counsel's office with a recommendation of a hearing against the appraiser, and 1 was closed due to no violation. Our total current open appraiser complaint caseload is 36 cases. That's my enforcement report. Are there any questions?
Oh, sir. Are there any questions for Ernest?
Ernest, I was curious, have you had any complaints about, where appraisers, don't appraise houses and then people are filing complaints about that? Has that been an issue?
No, most of our complaints are, the complainant doesn't agree with the value, feel that the appraiser had missed things in his appraisal report, and it seems to be more of a contention over the value that the appraiser came to.
Okay. All right. I was just curious if there was any, because it's been an issue around here where the values have been going up so much that, we had appraisals come in low, and then, people get all upset because their deal is messed up and they got to go back and redo their deal. And I didn't know if any of them elevated it to an actual complaint. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Are there any questions of Ernest? I would like to ask for a motion to accept his report.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second, Elliott.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So passed. Okay, our next report will be processing reports, and I'd like to ask Emily to bring us up to speed on that.
Good morning. This is Emily Lupi. So included in the materials you were provided, you will find licensing statistics for October of 2019 and October of 2020. The report shows the number of real estate appraisers broken down by county and also broken down by class code or license type. The 2020 numbers include only licensees and do not include those licensees whose licenses may have expired and are covered by Executive Order 202.11, which allows individuals licensed by the Department of State to extend the expiration of their license during the state of emergency. Are there any questions?
No.
Yes.
Are there any questions, Emily? The documentation he's referring to, again, were sent on October 15th for your review. If there are no questions of Emily, I would like to ask for a motion to accept the report.
Motion to accept the report. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Second.
Lillian
I'll
seconds
second.
it. Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Emily, for the update. At that point, I will suggest that board members, if you have previous year and look at the numbers, if there's any drastic change you feel we need to address, please send a message out to Whitney or myself or Carol, and we can get into it. Okay, our next report is Marcella Rose, the qualifying education update.
Good morning. This is Marcy Rose. I'm going to provide the update on the education. In March 2020, the department began following the AQB ASC guidelines as they pertain to live distance education without modification for continuing education courses already approved for traditional classroom setting. Then in September, the department began to include new and already approved qualifying and continuing education courses in accordance with the AQB ASC guidelines as they pertain to live distance education without modification. Educational providers who wish to offer live distance education for a new course, continuing education, or qualifying education will need to submit an original application and a written request to offer live distance education with a description of the educational provider's proposed delivery method for review and approval. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Carol, do you have questions?
Nope. I'll move to accept the report.
Have a second?
I second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Report is accepted. Moving on our agenda under new business, we have the executive order update from David Mosberg. David?
Hi, good morning, everybody. So there, as everybody I'm sure is aware of, the governor has issued a series of executive orders relating to the pandemic. There are two orders that are particularly noteworthy to appraisers and real estate transactions. I'm sure many of you may already be aware of it, but just for the sake of clarity and making sure the board is fully aware, there's EO 202.7, which is an executive order which permits electronic notarization of documents, which, you know, for appraisal practice and for real estate transactions is common. And so that EO, you know, certainly I think continue to help transactions progress throughout the state. That executive order, a link to it is on our website, as well as sort of guidance to explain how that is applied. That executive order is in effect and set to expire on November 3rd. There's another executive order, which is particularly relevant to appraisal licensees, as well as all of our other licensees. That is Executive Order 202.11, which went into effect on March 27th. Like the notary EO, this will expire on November 3rd. And the purpose of EO 202.11 was to permit individuals whose licenses expired, you know, by the printed date on the license, to continue to operate as if the license had not expired. Principally because if, for example, you know, because of the pandemic, they had financial concerns where they couldn't renew, or they couldn't take continuing education, or they couldn't find classes, or if they were hospitalized. So this EO allows the license basically to remain in effect regardless of the actual date printed on the license. Of course, the department has information regarding this on the divisional licensing's website. You know, we recommend obviously that if a licensee has the ability and meets all of the statutory regulatory requirements to renew, that they shouldn't, you know, just try to rely on the EO if they're in a position where they can renew it. But if for some reason they cannot, this EO allows the license holder to continue to operate lawfully at least through November 3rd. So those are two executive orders that, you know, we just wanted to present to the board to make sure that everyone is aware of.
Okay. Thank you, David. Are there any questions of David's update? No. Then I can please call for a motion to accept his report.
Motion to accept his report.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The report is accepted and passed. Our next agenda item is record keeping requirements for appraisers. I'd like to call on David again to expand on that. David, your report.
Hi, good morning, everyone again. So I believe it was maybe a month or so ago, perhaps even sooner, Carol had noted or inquired as to what the record-keeping requirements were for appraisers within the state because of a provision under the executive law, which provided a 3-year period generally to keep records. And so to ensure that appraisers throughout the state were accurately complying with the records-keeping requirements, the department prepared a guidance document or notice to appraisers regarding what the actual requirements are, which is New York follows the USPAP record-keeping rule, which requires that records be maintained for a period of 5 years or at least 2 years after the final disposition of any judicial proceeding in which the appraiser provided testimony related to the assignment or whichever period expires last. And so we just offered this opinion and this notice to help appraisers make sure that they were complying with the rule, because New York, through the board as well as through our regulations, follows the minimum requirements set out from the feds. And so through that, that's how we adopted the USPAP records keeping rule. And so that's why the rule is actually 5 and not 3 years. And so I'm not sure if anyone has any questions, but we just wanted to offer this to clarify any concerns if there were in the industry.
Any questions?
Thank you, David.
Report? Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol, for catching that. Carol's on vacation. Carol's on vacation in the Bahamas, laying on the beach reading the DOS appraisal substandard.
I wish that were true. Well, I do a lot of reading, but I really appreciate the clarification, just because our executive law conflicted with the USPAP minimum requirement. And I want to thank you, David, for writing that opinion. Motion to accept, I guess.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second, Jim LeGrand.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the report is accepted. Thank you. Thank you, David, for the updates.
You're welcome.
Under agenda item 3C, under new business, appraisal trends committee report, fair lending. I believe we're calling on Whitney Clark if she hasn't fallen asleep during the meeting. Whitney, is still there?
I'm still here. On David's last agenda item, I just wanted to mention that we do have a guidance document that we put on our website on the record keeping requirements. In case you guys receive any questions from appraisers, we have a very short description of what David just reported on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, on the fair lending topic, so there has been quite a bit of coverage in the national media since our last meeting about possible fair lending violations in the appraisal process. There was one noteworthy one in the New York Times that discussed differing home valuations based on the ethnicity of the homeowner. So we convened the Trends Committee to look at this topic. We've had 2 meetings so far. The subcommittee members are Steve Rafaro, Carol DeSanto, Jim Legret, and Becky Jones. And then David and I are participating for the department. And the one big thing that we're looking at right now is the educational requirements to assess whether the current requirements are sufficient or whether we need to build in additional education on fair lending. So we're looking at both the qualifying and the continuing education. Some of you are also real estate brokers and salespeople. So as you know, there are designated hours of continuing education every 2 years that agents must complete on fair housing. So we're looking at possibly doing something similar for appraisers And also we're looking at the qualifying education. Right now, the only module for fair lending in the qualifying curriculum is one elective course. So we're looking at building in additional requirements to make sure that prospective appraisers are receiving the information they need on fair lending. We asked Becky Jones to join today's meeting. Hi, Becky. So if anyone has any questions for myself or the subcommittee members, please feel free to ask.
Hi, Whitney.
Hey, Becky. So we did receive a proposal from the subcommittee this morning. We're going to have another meeting this week, and the plan is to have a package ready for the board's approval and vote at our December meeting.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions of Whitney, or Becky, or Carol, or me as a last resort?
Steve, it's Becky.
Yeah, I can see you.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, you can. If you answer a question first, do you actually have a green curtain in your house, or is that a background you just set up?
Oh, it's my green screen.
Okay.
And with this particular venue, you can't do a virtual background. So, yeah, I'm covering up my file cabinets.
Green's a good look behind you. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Becky. I'm sorry.
So thank you all for allowing me to speak as a public member, and I appreciate all the work that you guys do for us boots on the ground appraisers. I just wanted to give a little bit of background on this so that way the board members and then the DOS staff know kind of where we're coming from. So the background on this comes, at least for me, comes from a meeting that we had at the National Association of Realtors called the Appraisal Summit that we specifically do in Washington, D.C. And I believe it was August of 2018, where this particular, when you think of summit, it's not a conference. It literally is I call the suits, right? We had the Appraisal Foundation there. We had the Appraisal Institute there. We had CoreLogics. We had the Builders Association, and then we had the leadership within NAR with the appraisal group. And I did an open session at the end of the meeting asking what were some topics or what I call elevator talk of what was happening. This actually popped up where they talked about how appraisers possibly could be discriminating. And it took a lot of us back on this because we're looking at data. We're not looking at occupants at all when you're talking about a residential appraiser. So that was the first time we heard about it. Then we had the congressional hearing that Maxine Waters had on What's Your Home Worth? And that ended up being an interesting, and I'm a public member, so I can say this, a debacle. Because it was about specifically, and I'm not even going to mention the name or the book, but it was a report that was written talking about the difference between the two neighborhoods and how appraisers were causing bias. We, as an organization with the National Association of Realtors, have just been keeping an eye on this, saying, not truly understanding where this is coming from because we only look at data, we don't look at occupants. Well, it's becoming what's the right word? It's becoming the news of the times. So we're trying to get ahead of this. So the National Association of Realtors, we addressed this in a summit that we had done. And then Carol, and I give Carol a lot of credit for this, she said, you know what? We probably need to address this at the state level. So she really got gung-ho on this and started this whole task group. So I give her a lot of kudos for this. That New York, at this point, from my understanding, we haven't had any issues or cases or press releases when it comes to the appraisal profession. I know we're kind of unfortunately leading the way with the real estate agent and brokers with the whole Newsday incident that happened in Long Island. So we felt it's probably appropriate to address this. So Carol and I really kind of just started to problem solve and just think about this. And we're truly not 100% on how to address it because we're still not 100% sure on how it's happening. We've been highly recommending, the National Association of Realtors and other appraisers and other state regulatory boards have been saying, hey, if you've got an issue with your appraisal, there's a process. You turn it in and you take it to your regulatory board and allow the smarter than you people to take a look at it and see if there's an issue. So that's one of the things we've been promulgating with this is if there's an issue and you think there's bias, then it needs to go through the proper channels. So Carol and I did some brainstorming and at least took a look at, the Appraisal Foundation. I know you all maybe can or cannot see it, but this is the original criteria for the Appraisal Foundation for the educational changes in 2015, which New York State did adopt within the New York State appraisal law that I'm holding up here. So this is the basis of where the outline that Carol and I have been working on is coming from. So it's not like we're recreating something. We're just taking this outline and saying, how can we tweak this in a manner that would be appropriate for appraisers to have an understanding? Not just talking about the fair housing laws and the history, that's definitely important, but looking at the data, is there something within the income approach? Is there something within the sales comparison approach? Is there, and this has been the key term for us, unconscious bias? Perhaps is that taking place? So with that, I'm going to end that mantra, but I'm going to give you a little story. So we're in contact with a lot of different appraisers throughout the country. So we had a gentleman that told us a story that he took his shoes off in a particular homeowner's house because he didn't want to track any mud through the house. A lot of us do this. We take our shoes off at the house, right? I make sure I don't have holes in my socks so I don't embarrass myself. This particular gentleman had black socks with a blue stripe through it. Blue stripe through it. That occupant asked that appraiser to leave because he felt he was supporting the police Blue Lives Matter. So is that unconscious bias? If you have a blue stripe in your sock, that I now, as an educator, need to talk to my appraisers to make sure their socks are not offensive? I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Becky. And maybe I make a suggestion that we wear one blue sock and one black sock from now on, and maybe it won't be a problem.
That's funny.
All right, well, Becky, thank you for the update. Does anybody have any questions of Becky?
No, but I would like to add to that just for a moment. I think that there's a lot of talk all over the country. Becky and I have participated in many meetings on a national level. And I think that when she said I'm passionate about this, I am, because I really believe that appraisers are trying to do their job. They're just trying to do the job without bias. That's part of USPAP. There are regulations, and the complaints should, if there is really a case, complaint should be made. There's no cases that we know of, even with the cases that have been publicly, there's been a lot of publicity about. There have been no complaints to the regulatory bodies. However, I also believe that appraisers believe in education and they believe in doing the right thing. And only through education can we be better. We can do better, we can be better, and having a greater understanding of conscious, unconscious, or implicit bias is important so that we don't make errors, that we move forward in a profession as professionals. Um, and I think education is key to this. But it also is a changing target in education. So looking at, we've worked on an outline for these classes. But that will probably change over time. Everything changes over time. It's not, well, we have to start someplace. And New York should be a leader in this. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anybody else that would like to comment, question, concern on this topic at this point?
Can I ask a question?
Very good.
So have there been any I know there's been articles and hearings, but has anybody ever come up with a study showing some kind of bias on somebody's, whether it be an appraiser or a lender or an underwriter or whatever? It'd be because I think it'd be very difficult to show that. Where do you get all that information, and where do you how do you put it all together? Has anybody ever done that, or is this like just a gut reflex from because there's some article in the newspaper?
Let me just address that. To my knowledge, there has not been appraisals, review of actual appraisals together. There may be some cases going on, but they have not become public. The studies that have been done have not used data from actual appraisals. They have used big data, which we'll just leave it at that. They've used just big data databases.
Okay. I mean, I think it seems like a an appropriate thing for us to consider. And I mean, education for anybody is not going to hurt anything. I mean,
right.
We've all been in this business a long time. I mean, I don't want to be stuck in my ways. I want to change and be current. So I don't see a problem with that. And who knows? Maybe there's things that are built into the system that we have to change. So,
right.
The education sounds like a great idea to me.
So if I can answer his question to Anthony's question. So at the Maxine Waters hearing, his name is Andrew. Actually, I was going to try to put it in the chat. And Andre Perry with the Bookings Institute. He was one of the speakers at Maxine Waters. I think it was November of 2019, almost a year ago. And we did. The National Association of Realtors put a little subcommittee together to take a look at the factual information within that report, and then he's selling a book. And he was actually part of an Appraisal Summit that we just had with the National Association of Realtors and the Appraiser group. He's basing his data, like Carol said, it's Zillow. Zillo. Zillow is where he's getting his statistics from. So that's why we're trying to work with him to say, let's open up a bigger database, the National Association of Realtors, RPR, the MLS, so we can really get the proper data that's there. And I'm a public member, so I can say this. He's trying to sell a book, but I'm not saying there isn't a problem out there, correct? I truly believe, just like Anthony was saying, we need to take a look at this, maybe unconsciously. I mean, this has really opened up a world. Am I unconsciously, this girl that came from Cleveland, Ohio, that comes to living in the country of upstate New York, is there some unconscious bias? Perhaps. But is it being filtered into the data that's there that we're analyzing? So I'm taking this with an open mind.
All right, so let me step in for a second. So if there are any other comments or concerns or questions at this point, I'm probably going to close off with just a couple concerns of my own, if no one minds. Any other questions or comments or concerns? All good conversation. I think I'm going to try to build a bridge into all the discussions that have been going on, which are very healthy discussions. As an advisory board of DOS, we have to walk the fine line between a professional ethic and a political influence or a political discussion. And I think where we have really aimed our efforts at are looking at this from a very professional, occupational perspective. I think everyone has weighed in with some things that we need to consider, but I think overall we have to remember that we have to educate our members, our state members, on the process of evaluating and determining values on housing and how you shouldn't be looking at any other way but professionally. I think there are some factors that we've seen nationally that weigh in a little, but I think we all have to keep in mind that our diligence here is to make sure our board members are associating good process in evaluating and establishing value. Now, on the other side, if anyone has concerns and they weren't involved in the subcommittee and they want to email Whitney with those concerns, we can build those into the final educational perspective that we're talking about. Is that okay, Whitney?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. All right. Good conversation. Again, thank you to all subcommittee members who've taken part in the fair lending, fair housing looks that we have. Thanks again, Becky and Carol, for, as usual, weighing in with a lot of outside and national information. It's very helpful. Okay, Becky, I can see you raising your hand. You don't have to raise your hand.
I did put in the chat box, I put in the congressional hearing, where this is, if somebody wants to get some more knowledge on that, that's probably a good place to start, is the congressional hearing that took place. And then the gentleman that I referred to with his data, that's all in there for you guys. So the chat box. Steve, I just wanted to make sure you knew there was a chat box.
I know. You're always good. You're always good explaining things to me. Wear a green shirt next time. So you look like just a hat. Okay. With my jostling being done, if there aren't any questions, I would like to. I would like to accept. I would like to ask for a motion to accept Whitney's report. Do I have a motion?
Should that come from somebody outside the subcommittee?
I'll make the motion. Lillian.
Thank you, Carol.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. Our last meeting item is the next meeting from Denise. Denise, when is our next scheduled meeting?
Okay, hi. The next scheduled meeting is for Thursday, December 3rd at 10:30 a.m. And I would ask that you please let me know if you have any conflicts. Let me know as soon as possible, because it looks like we're going to have a vote at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Denise. All right. I'd like to thank everybody for taking part. It's easier to do this than drive sometimes. And I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting if possible.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time and efforts. We'll see you all on December 3rd.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you all. Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
enough.